happens. I'm going to turn off the flow tank here. It's getting all the bubbles out so we don't have any craziness like we did last time. Anyways, tonight's kind of cool. I'm going to be doing, maybe it's preachy, I don't know. Just some of my theories on flies and how I use some materials and why I use jigs. Let's see. Why does that say off air? Oh yeah, there we go. Terry, whoop, music off. So Terry, good morning. I've been going all day. I wish I could say that I hadn't, but it's been a wild day for me. And now we're gonna get to tie. Hey Aaron, how's it going? So we're gonna tie this little Synister leech. For a long time I have tied little leeches with synthetics, and now they just get cooler. So we're going to go and play with that a little bit, and I've got stacks of flies and crazy amounts of materials everywhere on my desk right now, but that's pretty standard. Some new beads to play with. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Danny, how's it going? Terry, I'm glad you had a crazy day as well. I've been up since like 7 and pretty much been on the road, and I walked in the door literally 30 minutes ago and had to unpack everything and bring it all upstairs to play on the live stream. Evers, what's up, man? Aaron says hello to you, Mr. Matt Evers. Anyways, so cool. Alright, so flies, yes. Green shirt again. I know you guys liked green. You guys seemed more peaceful with green, but that's okay. So what I have here, and here's our fly. I haven't cut the shank off this guy yet, but that's not the point, is my Synister leech. And I also have, I don't have a name for this, so Matt, if you want to, I just call it a guide fly. And I recently switched it over from a, although this one doesn't have a traditional bead, from a traditional bead to a Insta-Jig bead. John, how's it going? Guy, hello, welcome. And so, trying to figure out what I want to start with. Maybe I'll do steelhead fly first. That seems a little bit, I seem excited about that one. So I'm going to show you guys what I do for production steelhead flies. And by production I just mean that I'm tying more than one. And this can be used in any number of patterns, be it woolly buggers, whatever you're doing. So, oops. Let's see here. So what I'm going to take is some, we're going to use this dubbing, I guess it's a tool, from Stonfo. And it's a pretty cool little piece of equipment to do dubbings with. Brandon, hello. Spencer, hello. Helps us get into the zen, yes. Jiggy Walker, I like it. Mr. Evers, you are now officially my fly namer. If there is such a title for a person or a job, I think you are the king of that right now, the Jiggy Walker. It's almost, it almost is, whatchamacallit, what's that show that I like? The one with all the knights and old-timey stuff. It's like a White Walker. The name will come to me. I'm horrible with names of things. Games of Thrones. So, it's kind of Game of Thrones-y. Yes, something is going to spin. A lot of spinning. So what I have here is just some dubbing brush wire, and I'm going to put it into this magical spinning wheel that they provide to you. And I'm just going to cut it off enough. And I put a single wrap in here to help me build my brushes. Always, you just want to make sure you have enough to come back home to. So tonight's fly, we're going to do kind of a pink purple. Maybe we'll do some, we'll stay pretty close. But if you guys are tying more than one of a fly, or you're going to be using a lot of materials, you could always do some of these techniques in a dubbing loop with multiple materials. But it speeds up time and makes your life a lot better, and it's a little bit more fun to do it with the machine. So first up, I have some ripple ice fiber, and for this brush I am using shrimp pink and smolt blue ripple ice fiber. And I'm going to incorporate some pink predator wrap, but this is pink, silver, or silver, black, pink. And it's a new color with metallics in it, and it's pretty interesting. Jordan, you could have these fancy tools, but you could also have a dubbing spinner. So I tie a little bit too much just to keep doing dubbing loops of things and to speed up some of my winter tying. This is my main trick here. I've used home-built dubbing spinners. I've used random interesting ones that you find at shops, and this one's pretty easy. It stays on the vise, but you know, it's easily removable if you're not into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with our shrimp pink ice ripple fiber. It seems very almost orangey to me, but it's very different than orange. So what I really do here is I just lay this out, and you're going to just start by laying it out as much as possible. You want to have them pretty aligned, but I hear you, Jordan. I've been there. Trust me. Is Top Ramen still super popular? So what I'm going to do is take the Senyo's Predator wrap, and this has the metallic in it. It also has some UV components behind it as well, which is pretty cool. Landon, hello. Shower rings. Okay, so I just trim off the little cord that holds it all together, and I'm not super concerned with the equality of the length of the actual fibers. And I'm just simply laying these in here kind of randomly, but mostly on a 50-50 split of the length of the fiber. I want it to be a little bit compact. You can, you know, if you want it to be for a bigger fly, you can definitely change that. And next up is the smolt blue, which for me is a really cool kingfisher blue type color. Hey Brian, welcome. Hello. We hope you find something that you're looking for. So I just take a second and I try to get these guys aligned as close as possible. It really just aids in laying it in there. And you can see I'm only dropping in 3 or 4 strands at a time. And I'm sure there's like really cool videos on doing dubbing brushes with like music, maybe even dubstep, but I don't have any dubstep. So it is pretty, it's a kinky fiber. It has a lot of, it's like a lightning bolt. It's pretty cool. You know, we're going to get wild and throw in a third colorway. Just a touch of it though. I'm going to bring in just a little bit of some black. So the cool thing is when you build these, you'll be able to do, you know, 1 to 2 wraps with it, build your fly, trim it off, and the next one's ready to go. But Alrighty. Cool. Okay, so the last step slash trick is to pull this back into the hook. I just twist it towards me and trim off the excess. It is not peacock black, Aaron, I'm sorry. So once you have it in there, it's really just quite simple. I just start spinning this ball bearing and it's going to create the most killer dubbing brush. And what I've found is the best is my brush from my Mix My Own dubbing kit. I mean, it really... So you want to go, as you're building this, come through and you're just teasing. You're going to lose some fibers, but that's to be expected when you're building dubbing brushes. And I'm not gentle with it, as you can see. And at a certain point, I always get it to spin until it snaps. And luckily, at this point in time, with the dubbing brush wire, it is always snapped at the right spot. So we'll comb it some more once we get it on the bug. But that's my preliminary combing that I do. I might switch this guy up a little bit. And, yeah, I might. Ooh, yes. I'm going to do a little purple guinea on the front just to highlight this. So the cool thing is this drops out of the way, as you can see. So when I pan over into the vise world, you can see there's still space to work and operate, which is pretty clutch. Fancy balls and good evening. Hi Tanner, good evening to you too. I'm going to move the vise more central to me now that I'm not just cranking on a dubbing brush, and we'll scoot in a bit here. So yeah, anybody been out driving as much as me? Been on a pretty big tour here. What I'm doing is, this is actually an, oop, don't do that, that's okay. Pushed a little too far. This is a OPS T-shank, and I'm really not using very much of it for this pattern. It's a really short pattern with a real quick tie-in. I actually never broke one like that. Cool. So these new beads that I got have been just absolutely, they're pretty cool. I'll show you guys, I got a little sample pack and I've been playing with them. They're called Griggy beads, and they have this like crinkly finish to them, so it's pretty different, and I like it. So now we're ready to actually start tying. Takes a bit to get there, I apologize. So Jordan asks, what's better, putting the dubbing just on the thread or using a dubbing loop? Well, it's a great question, Jordan. The main difference will be if you just put it on the thread, you're going to have a you're going to get like a dubbing noodle, where it's not going to be as long or as lengthy. Whereas in a dubbing loop, you know, imagine if here's your thread. If you dub on there, you know, your dubbing goes this way. So that's like a dubbed. But if you do it in a loop, all of your materials get to lay at a 90-degree to the thread. So for certain things, I definitely prefer doing a dubbing loop if I want like a high volume material that's going to be really like flowing. then I'll use a dubbing loop, or else I will just do, if I want to do like a thin body of like a mayfly or a caddis, then I would just dub directly to the thread. So kind of the same point, or the same method, but or not the same method, but the same idea, but just different end results, because everything does end up pretty much on the thread. So all a dubbing loop is really making a brush one time on a fly. You're bummed I didn't stop in Medford? I haven't even been to Medford yet, Tanner. I cut over in Weed, so I will be in Medford. Don't you worry. I do not get off the road until about November 15th, I believe. A pretty long road season. So this is going to be our tail of this fly, and it's a pretty cool material. It's called Barred Groovy Bunny. Not that you could ever believe that the mad scientist could create more colors of rabbit, but when you look at it, the dyes are typically very laminar, like, you know, from the tips out. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they dye rabbit. They have some sort of amazing rabbit scientist. Possibly they grow nuclear rabbits. But these are done vertically throughout the hide, and then it's barred, which, having pink and purple right next to each other with a white background, it really is pretty amazing. Like you can see, this guy is like a cream orange and pink that I use with the barring. So it creates a really cool lifelike effect that I've never seen on rabbit strips before. So it made me very excited to tie with it. It's pretty cool stuff. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to ensure that the rabbit gets tied in there really well. So I'm going to tie in about 3/8 of an inch of this hide. And I can trim this tail later on down the road once we're done with the pattern here. Dark arts, absolutely, and black magic, yes. I wish. I greatly wish, Terry. Am I coming to Pennsylvania? No, that is outside of my jurisdiction as far as where I travel. Get some more toys out here. So this is a pretty cool deal. It's a, let's see if we can get a little bit closer. I'm going to have to drop that down a bit though. There we go. Yes. So this is a mini flat fly braid in fluorescent pink. So it's a flat woven material with a little bit of sheen behind it. And as you guys can see, it comes in, I mean, just, I had to buy a stack of colors to play with. I think it'll be great for a lot of steelhead fly bodies, also saltwater stuff. If you're doing like crazy Charlies and stuff like that, it could be really cool. Some different colorways in there for like a spawning shrimp and stuff. Pennsylvania isn't as cool as the West Coast. Oh boy. I've heard great things about Pennsylvania, actually, Jordan. But being a West Coast rep, I have to travel the West Coast. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a void here in between where I want the main collar, if you will, to hang out. There'll be a support collar and then also the main collar. For durability sakes, I coat this with Flow. It's over the top and it's never seen, but I feel that it just helps secure that rabbit in there and makes it a little bit tougher. Uh-oh. Joel says it's dyed pretty, the rabbit strips, Pretty Women style from a salon. It could be. I mean, maybe they've hired some super awesome hair experts to come up with these amazing dye jobs. You got me, man. I'll have to do some reconnaissance someday, I'm sure. I'll probably get tackled and attacked, but that's the way it works. So pretty cool. I'm going to use some of this Chocolates Filler Flash in Hot Pink. It's a double-sided long chenille, and it's pretty cool looking. It does a lot of great things. We used it on the Game Changer as well, or the Feather Game Changer last time. Can I pause for a second? You're trying to cook a frozen pizza? Tanner, live stream works like a DVR, so you can actually pause me live and then catch back up, man. Your questions would probably be pretty out of cue, though. So I'm going to take 3 to 4 wraps of this, and you can see it has a really cool, it stands up quite a bit here. And I really don't want to compress this little collar, but I do want to make sure it's going to be tied in really well. So I'll just bring 1 wrap over, and you're still going to help it stand out. So this will help everything stand up against the current just a little bit. So that looks, I don't know if it's my screen or if it looks that cool and electric on the live stream for you guys. The anything with the Mylar in it seems to pop extra crazy. So, yep, it looks that way to you guys too. Alright, so I'm going to take a few turns and just really tie in this dubbing brush super tight. And once you have it dubbed, you just want to treat it just like a hackle. And then, like I said, you're not going to need more than just a few wraps to create the effect that you're going for, because it can easily get too full. Old scissors for cutting wire, or toenail cutters also works. Oop, that was that wire. So the wire is a little bit pokey on the end, just to forewarn you guys. Watch out for it. So once you get it all settled in there, I'll take my brush, and you know, you guys could take more turns, get it really sparse, or have it be really, you know, you can have it sparse or heavily dressed depending on what you're trying to do. I tend to tie them a multitude of different ways. It really just depends on how much stuff you shove into your dubbing brush. And last but not least, I'll do a wee little collar of some guinea. And the cool thing with steelhead flies, you know, is that it's what color you have the faith in. A little bit of what color they're after, but the longer you swing flies, the more chances you have to hook a fish. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. I'm just rotating the bead because I want the blue on top. I don't know why. Makes a total difference because they won't eat it with the pink on top. Just found through scientific research and studies. So all I'll do is I'll capture that guinea stem after palmering it. You know, I threw a purple one in there to kind of match the tail. So that's stolen from my daughter's fly tying box. Right on, Brian. Yeah, it definitely speeds up the tying process there to have a brush, you know, a brush tool. Buy it or build it, whatever you end up doing. It'll definitely speed up some of your collaring processes. And you know, you could throw in a marabou collar underneath this. You know, if you wanted to have more of a larger silhouette for off-colored water and stuff. Hey Mark, welcome. Yeah, well, I broke. It's just Vivus 50. So I probably caught it right, Brandon. I probably caught it right on the end of that wire from the dubbing brush wire, and just maybe wrenched down a little bit too tough. But I break thread quite often, unfortunately. That's why I tie with GSP, so I do it less. I'm going to take some flow and I'll work it in here. And don't be scared to coat the bases of this guinea. And the reason that is the flow will make that feather rubbery like we did our tails, and it'll actually increase a little bit of the, you know, ability to keep that guinea pushed out and hold form. So it'll create like a, kind of like a back eddy for the guinea, I guess you would say. John likes my bobbin. That is the hairline tungsten bobbin. Tanner says steelhead hate pink. Yeah, you can definitely do some pretty cool other variants here. GSP is cheating. Landon, you could definitely do some other variations, you know, possibly including, you know, if you wanted to do more of a bass style with this, you could definitely do that, but use some dumbbell eyes in various colors, and get like a really cool like swimming motion. Probably absolutely slaughter some bass. So we'll have to rig this guy up to go in the tank later. I think you guys like GSP is right on, Brandon. I just answer every question. I think I'm probably one of the only people who regularly breaks GSP and bobbins. Maybe not. You can't break the 200 GSP though. That I am not good at breaking. But if you watch my videos long enough, you'll realize I only tie with 50 GSP, unless I'm stacking hair. And even then, I'll typically forget to change and still tie with 50 GSP. So we'll put that guy in a loop knot for later. We'll drop him out. So I am going to do 2 more bugs, one way, one the other way. So first up, I'll do this little guide fly. A lot of my stuff, unless Ebers names it, I forget what he named it. Feather fingers? Is that? What's feather fingers? Ugh. Feather fingers? Feather flingers, maybe? You never know. So one of the interesting little variants in here, I was going through, and this one doesn't have a flashback on it, but as I was going through materials, I found a cool substitute, which is just pulling wing cases with flat braid. So I'm going to pull out my 1760s, and we'll go from steelhead to steelhead nymph, I guess you can say. Dude's a noob. Total noob. Oh man. He likes some of my pictures on social media though, so he's pretty cool for that. Just kidding, Brandon. Let's see. Let's do a red one. So I have this like philosophy with my guide flies is I have like a base recipe for everything, and then I branch out into levels of weirdness. So obviously like a egg-sucking stonefly pattern is pretty standard, but I've also done some with a red bead, and they seem to like it just as much. So a lot of patterns that I guide with on the regular to keep it interesting while I'm tying it, I tie weird new variations and tend to see how much you can mess with a pattern and still catch fish. May not sound like a super nice scenario for a guide to do, but usually it ends out being pretty decently okay. The nympho. So there's two schools of thought that I use on here. So a lot of times I'll tie with a olive rubber leg or just a brown rubber leg. But so this is Life Flex that I'm going to be putting on here in a brown for our antenna. So once I put the bead on, I flip it to the back, and I'll take a few basic wraps up front for anybody who's never done the bead over antenna trick before. It's super new. Probably invented it yesterday. Just kidding. So what I like to do is I actually bring this behind where the bead's going to mount. And then I'll take a few soft wraps forward. I pull tension. Once I get a securing wrap in there, I just wrap it back. We'll go ahead and whip finish right here. You fished GT out of Buffalo. The huh? So, let's see. My laptop's like extra noisy. I think I sucked some feathers up into the cooling fan tonight. So if you hear some weird laptop stuff, sorry. Apologize in advance. So what we'll do there is that. Oh boy. So I might not rib this one because I think I just kicked my uni wire across the room, unfortunately. But that happens. Where did I kick my uni wire to? Aha. Nope, there it is. Nope, that's not it. Oh well, no uni wire tonight. We'll just zap it. Kicking things again. Much prefer the in-store demo where I kick materials across the room. And there's some nice gentleman that retrieves them. That tends to work out much better for me. So if there's a curve, I typically will take the curve and put that towards the outside so it splays the tail and antenna sections properly for us. So I typically cut my stone tails a little bit short, and leaving the antenna longer. Yeah, I know, Evers. I'm blowing it. I am absolutely blowing it. I always do, though. It's okay. I've learned to accept it. I can only be... Oh, cool. We'll do a silver rib version. Interesting. So I'm like kind of locked in this little cubby. You ever see where I do Loon live from? It's like this little hole in the wall, and it's kind of scary. Bet you money. Have you guys seen my daughter's fly tying box? I bet you money she's stolen something from me along the way. Oh, there's my pink line. Stole that. Surprised she didn't steal any pink. Oh, there was a spool of uni wire in there. That is now somewhere else. Huh. I'm impressed. I would have had a pink I would have been pink though, but that's alright. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 of these Life Flex leg, you know, the Super Floss, Life Flex, whatever flavor you call it. And I am going to trim them all up even. So what I do is I'll take it and I'll start it where the thorax is. Still better than Aaron. Thank you. Thank you. I do strive for to be better than him on a regular basis. Yeah, actually, so when I fought fire and did medical work, which I did for, what, 14 years of my life, my nickname was, and I'm from San Diego, so they call me SoCalis, which is actually just a mispronunciation of my last name combined with Calise. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but that's why the Facebook or Instagram moniker is SoCalis23. So all I do is I'm progressively wrapping this Super Floss material forward to create the body. You guys could do the same thing with a turkey tail or any number of other really basic materials that you might have on hand, but most people have rubber legs. If you hate doing copper johns, this actually can make, with like reds and oranges and stuff, it can make some really cool copper john patterns as well with this Super Floss. It comes in so many colors and they're really vibrant and translucent, so you can get away with doing a lot. Great Anchorman reference. I actually use that quite a bit, Evers. Oh man. That is awesome, my friend. So you can coat it with some flow. It's going to sink in there a little bit. You could use fluorescing in this case, which would really make the bug pop and look really cool. I typically do wire rib that, although I'm pretty sure that that's not going to come apart because sometimes I cheat when tying guide flies and don't do that at all. Let's see, pheno skin. The only thing worse than my fly tying office is my tying desk for Loon Live because it just eats materials, I think. That's okay. We'll use my new favorite substitute. I like it anyways, better. So that same fly braid that we used on the last fly is a really cool replacement. Oh, Aaron, don't be sad. Don't be sad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mini flat braid in chocolate and I'm going to half it over. And we'll just go ahead and kind of leave it out back as a cape right now. Milk was a bad choice. Aaron, you're going to Montana? You didn't even invite me, dude. Montana's only like 14 hours from here or something like that. So for my rear legs, I typically will use a CDC, and just to stay matchy-matchy, I will use a brown CDC. The same box of CDC I've had since I started tying. Well, since I started buying CDC, I should say. It was at Costco. It was a bulk deal. It's like one of those things when you start tying, you're like, or start tying with a new material and you buy the one with the most of it. I guess it could happen when you start tying too and you're like, I'm going to have the most CDC ever. And then you realize there's a reason why you pay for good things. Because there's a lot of unusable feathers. But that's alright. Alrighty. If I can get this off. If I haven't handicapped myself there. Yeah, it's really cold in Montana, I've heard. Aaron, are you and Ebers going to snuggle to keep warm? You're going with Ebers, huh? Alright. Cool. So there's not really any major amounts of dubbing. I like Senua's laser dub in olive. I dig fiery brown STS trilobal brownstone as well for my thoraxes. And with the trilobal, I use a iced up golden brown typically for a flash, just to add a little bit of pizzazz to the belly. So what I do is I'll just make this super fine dubbing noodle and create like kind of an underbody, and I'll show you why. It's winter. It probably is, I'm sure, and all of that area of the world, it's pretty cold. It's 91 here today. It's sunny, but yeah, no sign of rain ever. It's pretty good. But that's alright. Snowed on Monday. Oh man, that's messed up, Joel. That's not very nice. So what I'm going to do is I will half these legs. If I can get this thing to do what I want. And I'm just going to put them plumb center here on this bug. And once they're in there, I feel pretty comfortable with 40 below. Alrighty, so we'll do another dubbing noodle. We'll see if this will carry us through. And I don't want these to be real buoyant. Like when I worked on this pattern, I really liked Mercer's Epoxyback Golden Stone, but the naturals were kind of fickle for me to work with on the speed, so I sort of just manipulated that to work and get kind of the same style of bug originally, although it's pretty different now. You know, using synthetics and stuff like that. Way more available. Color ranges are pretty awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mini flat braid here and just create a wing case. We'll trim off all the excess here. So you can see the CDC kind of just hangs out back there in the middle of nowhere, Montana. Are you guys going to throw streamers together in Montana? Let's see. Uh-oh. Minnesota hatred? Man. Brandon, where's Brandon from? Ebers? Is he hang out with like Cheech and those cats? Is he a Cheech hanger-outer? So what I'll do is I'll take some thin and we'll just create a really cool slenderized wing case here. And then we'll tack it. Utah trout bum. Copy that. Hey, nothing wrong as long as you're a trout bum. Only thing cooler than that's being a steelhead bum. Living in your truck for years down by a river so you can catch steelhead. So yeah, that's just my OG guide stone with a bead. I've done it with a tungsten scud case in there to make it ride. It got more bulky. It's just designed to get down deep in a hurry. But there's new toys on the horizon, which so it'll be kind of the same fly but with a different characteristic, and I think it'll create a really cool visual in the tank. Bingo. And since my bazillion have not showed up yet, probably because I haven't ordered them. So this is the new thing that I'm excited about. This is the Insta-Jig jig head from Hairline, and you can see there's some pretty cool modeled versions in there. Yeah, you guys get some pretty big fish there in the Great Lakes region. I like it. I think the fishing's from like fly design and stuff. Like, I think a lot of the fly designs are pretty variable. Like, I mean, they're different than what we do out here on the West Coast. It's pretty interesting to see just the variance in fly patterns. Pretty cool though too. And I'm not gonna get into the old thing of they're not steelhead. No, I'm joking. Heard some people grumble in the past life about weirdness, but man, those things, I don't know. I've seen some oceans that are smaller than the Great Lakes, I'm pretty sure. So again, we're just going to use super floss, and I'll go a little bit faster through this guy, and just so we don't take up your guys' whole evening here. Oh my goodness, it's 47 minutes already and we haven't even got to the tank. If you guys are like super bored and don't want to see me tie the same fly but with a new bead, I'll tie it really fast. You guys can see a speed tying session here. So we can get on to the party in the tank. No rush, slow poke. Let's see what. Yeah, I think you got. I don't know. I don't know your guys' entomology that well, honestly, because I mean, like right now out here for steelhead, if I was to go out to say like the Trinity and go steelheading, I would throw. Well, every steelhead loves eggs, so that's just a given. But I would really throw like Isonychias and some golden stones, start getting into my October caddis pattern, stuff like that. But you guys just get to throw like wild Senyos, nuclear chicken stoneflies and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool looking stuff. Wish our steelhead would eat some cool looking stuff. But they do eat the swung fly, both areas. But just like your guys' weight systems and the way the rivers seem to be set up, it seems to be pretty different. But a lot of the same tactics, swinging and stuff like that, work. Ostrich eggs work the best. I don't know what an ostrich egg is, but it sounds cool. I'm down with ostrich eggs. I've seen a real one once. I broke it. It was like a display piece at some sort of like roadside farmer's market, and like decorative ostrich eggs. Of course I had to touch it. Mistake. Broke it. So the cool thing is with these is, you know, the little tungsten bead, and probably one of my biggest cruxes for tying stones was that there was plenty of large gap jig hooks out there in the world, but none that I would feel comfortable putting in a trout's mouth, because piercings are cool, but I don't think they really wanted to have their brain pierced, I guess you would say. Of course, I find the my skinny skin, or pheno skin here, whatever you, the second I'm done with the other one. It was even in the same spot. So what I'll do is I'll just drop this to land right on top there. We'll create a cool wing case. They're pretty big. Well, I'm sure they're big, and they go eat all sorts of wild stuff. Yes, Bob, the bead, so when it's going to ride hook point up, which is incredibly advantageous if, and obviously they come in larger sizes, so if you're fishing something out here, we have a lot of regulations where there's no external weights on certain rivers. So you want to like be able to stack. I mean, you could even, there's actually a slot behind it where you could put like a non-lead wire or a lead wire if you wanted as well. But getting them to ride up, a lot of times, the way I do some of the rigging, like rig up the flies, you can use it almost as a bottom sounder, and it's going to just skip a little bit across the bottom. It seems to be the benefit of jig hooks. They also seem to, you know, ride more naturally in the water column for me. I love fishing jig hooks. They have, in my opinion, I think they stay better on bigger fish. Or I feel like I have a greater success rate of landing fish over 20 with jig hooks than I do a traditional hook for whatever reason. But I also feel that just the presentation value is really there. Let's do some STS trilobal brownstone in here with a little flash. We'll vary it up. Because like I said, all I do with my guide flies is just continuously mess with them. It's kind of cool too. If they're eating it, then they eat it. Do over. I would love to go fish the Catskills someday. If I could free up enough time to travel that far. I'd probably go see Aaron too, and Ebbers, although it'd be pretty awkward, I think. I'd feel like the third wheel if I showed up. But that's alright. I haven't even been on the road long yet, Danny. It's always like this in the fall. We have spring and fall. We do road trips and like shop shows all spring and fall. So it's just really kind of getting underway. I do a lot of demos during the winter too. It's a good time for tying. Speaking of winter demos, we are going to have the 1 month long beginner crash course on Loon Live, which I think is going to be really fun. I am going to use whatever comes, and what only comes, in a basic fly tying kit to create all of the flies in patterns. So I think it'll be pretty cool. We will still do wild, fun, weird mat flies on Loon Live, so it'll be a little bit of a busy Loon Live month there, probably starting right after Christmas. Seems like lots of people get cool fly tying gifts for Christmas, so makes sense to do it then. You can either part this or trim it. It won't make a big difference. Look at that, it only took me 39 minutes to tie this version. Just kidding. Let's see here. Uh-oh, Bob's catching fish. I like it. Alright, so we'll just coat this guy up with some flow, or some thin, I mean, sorry. And we'll rotate it to keep it kind of in the sweet spot there, a little forward. Bingo. Whoa, I want to go to the smokehouse, Bob. What the heck? Except for Khalees. Thanks, Evers and Aaron. I appreciate that. It's like a Little Rascals episode with you guys. I like it. Okay. Tanks. Let's see. Do I need any East Coast reps? I don't know. I don't even deal with those rep guys. Well, I deal with like one of them. But other than that, the more the merrier, less Khalees. Thanks, Aaron. Awesome, awesome. Alright, so I'm going to get this dialed in and throw this guy into Z-Tank. It really hurt my feelings. Aaron, you do remember that I can blacklist you, right? Whoa, what's up with the flows there? Cool. Blacklisting Aaron would be awesome. Perfect. Alright. Hold that in my teeth. Move you all over to the tank zone. And we'll just swizzle this guy in there. Turn the volume way down on the tank so it's kind of lackluster. But you guys can see that's just how he swings along there. You can just jump him through currents and stuff. And I'll get these jig flies rigged up here real quick. Don't want to hold you all too long. Do-do-do-do. Oh, I should have, shoot, darn it. I should have just left that in there to swim around a bit. Oregon has different smokehouse. They do now. Heck, boy howdy. I was cracking up when I was cruising around Oregon and Washington last week, and I'll probably do the same next week when I cruise through. It would have been like a high school kid's wildest fantasy. Well, a deviant high school kid, I guess you should say. You guys like staring at tanks? It looks pretty cool in there, huh? I don't know why it's making that goofy little noise. Maybe I got some feathers in there or something. Oh, there we go. So there's the let's see, how's that hunting? That's the Insta-Jig hanging out in there, and you can see that even with, come on, don't hurt, don't die. So you can see how it sits in a faster water and in slower water. I kind of dig it more in the fast water. But you can see with that jig head on there how well it keels. No more bubbles. I found out if I just let the tank hang out, then the tank is happy and it doesn't have bubbles. So I was going to add some more water because it's looks a little parched, but I didn't want to bubble it. Alright, so this will be an interesting comparison. So, side by side with the jig versus a standard. And that's under current though, but like the major difference, and I don't know if you guys will be able to see this back here, I'll have to adapt and overcome. So a lot of times when you're nymphing, you're not in a dynamic environment. Let me turn the tank off for a second. Whoa, that held it really cool. Let's see. Oh boy. More technical camera work for police. This is good. Alright. So you can see the tank's kind of low. But you can see, I've caught fish for years on just our standard hook. But you can see the jig really just wants to get there and lie differently. But even in a light current, if you're doing like horrible drifts like up top here, you can see there's a little difference in the way that the two carry. Also, the tungsten one does want to just kind of get out of there. But I like that hook up. I feel like it's going to foul on the bottom less, and it's a cool way to get into hook point up flies without, you know, rebuying everything that you guys have ever bought. Sorry if I miss comments. We've Hank the Tank. Drive with the windows down. Nymphing puppet show. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Just nymph, you know, stonefly marionettes, but it's an interesting, you know, comparison nonetheless. So yeah, hopefully there was some cool tactics, theories, and stuff, you know, this episode for you guys to check out. Also getting to see some of the cool new materials. One of the last ones that I have to show you is this guy. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but it's almost a reflective translucent red. There's pinks. This stuff is just pretty cool to me. I'm really excited. I like this red too, this blood red. So it has a cool reflectiveness to it. It's just a cool material. I'm going to be tying some more stuff with it as I get to compile more fun new toys from Hairline and fish them and play with them. I always like to throw out some new patterns there. You're welcome, dude man. Yeah, the rabbit strip. It is cool, Evers. You're gonna have a field day with some of that, I'm pretty sure. Trying to think if there's anything else that was super duper wild. Lots more. Well, these are pretty awesome. So if I didn't tell you guys, these little, it's really hard to see. It's not going to happen on camera. But on the second stonefly, I used a brown, mottled brown jig bead for the second stonefly, and they're really cool. So there's a lot of fun stuff. So I think I'm in town next Loon Live. I don't think I went anywhere or I'm going anywhere. But who knows? Maybe I might be at a shop and I might just broadcast from a store, and it'll be great. Thanks, Spencer. I appreciate you tuning in. Danny, thank you much. Keep it squatchy. Dude, you know what shirt I have on. If you've ever known a guy who loves Sasquatch more than me, hey, thanks, John. I mean, I have Sasquatch fly fishing on my shirt. I have Sasquatch hats. I have everything. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Next week, we'll come up with some more fun stuff. I might be at a shop. I'm going to do a couple live streams. Probably going to do a Facebook live stream from a organ shop here next Saturday, maybe? Could be really fun. Never done a Facebook live from a shop. But anyways, I appreciate it. And have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.